Many people thought it's someone else's problem until they started to understand that often runaway children, particularly little girls, can easily be seduced and convinced that they're going to be a model or they're going to be a dancer, and they end up not ever seeing the light of day again.
Marilyn Carlson Nelson of the global travel and hospitality company Carlson Companies is a leader in the fight against human trafficking. So is Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano. Ending sex trafficking is part of her job, as is making the American public more aware of human trafficking.
There is no community in the United States that is immune from this. It is an international plague. It's a plague within the United States.
In April, police took down a major trafficking ring in Carlson Nelson's home state of Minnesota. The Twin Cities is one of the United States' largest centers for child prostitution. A 2010 study found on any given night, 45 girls are sold for sex. The rate has begun to decline, due in part to projects like the Women's Foundation's Minnesota Girls Are Not for Sale. Carlson Nelson first learned of the enormity of human trafficking from Queen Sylvia of Sweden.
The Queen spoke to me about travel and tourism and the fact that sometimes these kinds of sexual exploitation take place in hotels, motels, and travel. It sounded serious. It was a dark issue. It began to creep into my consciousness.
Carlson Nelson became the first American CEO to sign an international agreement, ECPAT, the acronym for End Child Prostitution and Trafficking. By signing, a company agrees to a code of conduct that includes educating staff, suppliers, and customers about sexual exploitation.
I came back and spoke to my company, and you can imagine, the first thing people said is, Marilyn, we're in the happiness business. I mean, this is a kind of dark subject. It's almost taboo to talk about using children in this way. It's probably one of the most heinous crimes there is in the world.
She then convinced other corporate leaders from Hilton Hotels and Delta Airlines, among others, to get on board.
Every day we go about our lives.
For its part, the Department of Homeland Security recently relaunched the Blue Campaign, a comprehensive anti-trafficking project that includes training.
We're working with air carriers like Delta, for example, to train employees on how to spot some of the signs of human trafficking. And we're doing that throughout the transportation industry, the hospitality industry, and others. As public awareness rises and we train more law enforcement around the country, all of that helps us, I think, make a real dent in trafficking.
But Napolitano says reintegrating minor girls who escape sex trafficking back into society is not easy.
They've gone through a very damaging experience, and so one of the things we're doing is connecting with all of the great service organizations throughout the country who want to provide assistance to these victims.
In Minnesota, the Women's Foundation helped pass the 2011 Safe Harbor Law. It recognizes child prostitutes as victims of abuse, granting them immunity from prosecution.
Their soul has kind of been rent in such a way that their own sense of value has really disappeared.
Despite the nature of the crime, the department's had quite a few success stories.
We have one case involving a person who noticed that there was a teenage girl in the house next door who never seemed to go to school, never seemed to leave, and reported it. We investigated through Immigration and Customs Enforcement, found that it was basically slavery. It was free labor in the home. The owners of the home were arrested and prosecuted. The young woman who we were able to rescue now is in college and wants to be an ICE agent.